We don't down happy about so I don't really want to know where you're going.
Talk on the block. It is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. And right now we're going to be talking about the sperm whale reserve. We're seeing that the first reading, I believe, held sometime this morning on the proposed legislation to have this fully established. With me this afternoon is attorney at law and ecological activist, active in international environmental law from 1993 to 2006, Henry Shillingford. You can imagine this guy is definitely qualified to speak on the matter. But I'll let him do some introductory remarks. Henry, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Richie, and thanks so much. And good afternoon to your audience, and good afternoon, of course, to you. And thank you for allowing me to speak on an issue that's very dear to me. As you know, I consider myself one of the founders of that industry in Dominica back in the early 90s when I'd not yet become a lawyer.
Yeah, so we're talking quite a while back, Henry.
Yeah, that's how old the industry is here. I mean, it's approaching 35, 36 years. And so it is something that is fundamental and quite, if you emblematic of Dominica and has enhanced to the sea its nature island of the world distinction. Because these sperm whales, we've learned so much about them from the time we initiated this. Now, this whole thing, to just remind the audience that this came as a response to Dominica voting with the Japanese to continue harvesting whales, which has been made actually unlawful in international law since the early 80s.
Yeah.
But Japan has been using its scientific loophole. They said, yes, killing whales is banned. However, you can take whales for scientific research. Japan would come up with excuses to take 400 minke whales a year and etc. And had used these Caribbean islands as to enhance the vote to prevent the three-quarter majority to overwhelm their scientific loophole. They've actually recruited places like Mongolia, which is landlocked, to vote for them. So I've attended many International Whaling Commission meetings. And so I'm very aware of the whole evolvement of this process to where I understand it is now, which is what I will be responding to. And so I don't know where you want me to take, but it's very very emblematic of Dominica. Nowhere else in the Caribbean, except outside of the Dominican Republic, does this occur.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a very interesting development, and as you mentioned, very important. I thank you for the work that you've done, though, as it relates to this cause. Um, so, this is expected to enhance Dominica's position as a premier destination for marine tourism. But just before we get into that, um, can you list out some of the benefits when this is passed in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals? What are some of the benefits we get from passing something like this, a sperm whale reserve, first ever in the Caribbean?
Well, I'm not, that's one of the problems. I'm not as au courant with the act as it is now thing. I was informed just over the weekend by people involved in the industry for my opinion. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? Because we had worked on a reserve back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. Because with the sperm whales, this is the only habitat in the Caribbean where they live year round. Sperm whales, as a matter of their cultural and process, usually go to the Arctic to feed. But the point is that Dominica, because of its depths of the ocean, that they have squid. And that's why the sperm whales are the deepest diving whales. And that these squid remain. So they're allowed to birth the animals and still have enough food to feed them. Many whales go to the Arctic where at a certain period to birth because the feeding is so much better, humpbacks and other whales. So that's the importance. So I can speak to what reserves generally are intended to do. They're intended to protect and of course give the species that you're protecting or the environment or the ecological process protection. Now we remember, like Dominica has another marine reserve at the north of the Cabrits, which is not protected as it should be. There's a Dominica Marine Reserve.
Mm.
One of the things that comes out of this from the informants that have contacted me is that this is really an initiative, not of them, and this is not a local initiative. This is an initiative of an international NGO called Pristine Seas, I believe it's the name of it. And they're the ones that are pushing this and have pushed other reserves in the world. Now, so the benefits, I really am not clear on. I have a few critiques because I haven't been, if you will, au courant with the whole act. But there are some pointers that I have gotten and I've been able to waylay. But reserves generally, and when used in the environmental movement, for example, our national park, which is a reserve, which is now, maybe being and has been, and now national park, which is now a World Heritage Site. And there's a lot of issues around the management of that and keeping that in its preservation mode as it should be. But reserves in general, they benefit by protecting the species there, usually because there's some sort of threat. I am not aware of any particular threat to the sperm whales here, but I presume government in its magnanimity has thought this to be a good thing. That's my view on it.
I can tell you one of the benefits that has been said by some of the ministers is in relation to two benefits. They're saying that this legislation, when enacted, will help address the noise pollution and ship strikes facing these species in all parts of the region.
Well, I'm not too sure. Whales are very, very sharp animals. I don't know how much ship traffic. That was an issue for the people we worked with up in like Massachusetts, which one of the first whale watching, and which gave us guidance when we started whale watching here. As I said, it was a response to show that whales are much more valuable alive and we worked out that whales may be valuable to 1 million EC a year to Dominica. One whale. Of course, whales don't move singularly, but when we call it hotel stay, eating, the whole process. And now ship strikes, we don't know. A ship strike has never been reported in Dominica. And the fact is that I don't know how much marine traffic we have. I don't think it's that much comparative to other places. And whales can hear ships much faster than we can because their ears are excellent, and noise travels much faster under water, and our oceans are quite deep. So I would need justification on how a reserve was necessary for this. And saying this, for example, is also, as you bring it up, the reserve area is quite large. I mean, it goes from Point Round to Woodford Braes, and then from Castle Comfort to Scott's Head.
Scott's Head, yeah.
Now, it also speaks to vessels over 60 feet. Now, that's a lot of yachts, that would be coming in, that would not be disturbing the thing. Even the yacht motor is not loud enough, but many of them come in by sail. So I don't understand that. I don't understand the rationality, the ecological rationality. Now, there is a ship lane that they have, of course, reserved that would be between Castle Comfort and Woodbridge Bay for larger ships to come in. And so, if they have information to that regard in terms of ship strikes or other things, they should have been made known. But from my informants who are operators in the industry, this unbeknownst to them. That's something else in terms of this coming in. Many of them, what the consultancy that occurred was prior to the act by international consultant, was to interview them one-on-one. They were not met as a group. And so I would have thought that meeting them as a group and getting that interaction would have been more helpful if I was the consultant, and I have been. So I don't know about that. If they have information to that, I would be glad to hear that. And in many places, that is an issue. I don't believe it's an issue in Dominica, given our, economic activity and the amount of ship traffic that happens through Dominica. But the operators say that because many of them are involved in other elements and maybe in the yacht business, that this is a really restriction on yachting in many ways. That particular thing that you mentioned, where it prevents ships over 60 feet. And I haven't met the direct section, but the 60 feet from traversing through the marine reserve to the whale sanctuary, not a marine reserve, sorry. Whale sanctuary, I think, is what we're calling it. So again, I think that putting this information out as a factual information, because remember, this is all about science. I mean, even whale watching is a scientific exercise. And a lot of Dominica is actually scientific tourism. And that was an argument that I gave earlier in my career. I'll just tell you, I left the environmental industry in 2006 because it was being taken over by corporate entities. And so it was greening issues, but not really getting to the heart of it. Because remember, the environment, people are in the environment too. And what happens with a lot of international agencies that I confronted, being one of the few Southern Hemisphere environmentalists, I'm telling you, the environmental domain is dominated by people who are paler than even me. And is dominated by them. And as I've told you, they themselves have been taken over by corporate interest. And what we found, even when I was grounding with Southern governments in the issue, for example, national parks, which would prevent local people from accessing forests, etc., which they had been doing for centuries. And the problems that they were addressing were not caused by local people. So many of these issues, they come back to this oligarchy, this international oligarchy that is trying to enforce their vision and their culture upon many of us in the Southern Hemisphere. And I think that, that is one of the complaints, I say, and I would have generally, I'm not so much in the industry, I wasn't consulted, but even the operators felt that there should have been a deeper, more collective consultation, and that they feel that this is being imposed on them. For example, one of the issues they have is that in the governing body, 2 research scientists have a seat, and only one of the operators have a seat, and that operator is chosen by government. It's not even chosen by their own collective body. And so why should research scientists have 2 seats on the governing body, and the local operators have 1, and which they don't even choose themselves? This seems, on the face of it, to be an imposition, not a collaboration.
Mr. Chillingford, thank you so much for your professional views so far. And I'm getting from you concern for more scientific data, which would validate our government bringing this particular legislation to Parliament for discussion and debate. Are you saying, in specific to only this, it should have been done where the public was exposed to many of the concerns of the government from a data-driven level or statistical level before discussion of legislation being brought to Parliament? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, that's what I get from my informants. And I think, with due respect to the government, I understand that because they have said that they have intimated this by email and other ways of communication to government officials. And credit to them, I understand, maybe you can confirm from your newsroom, that they're just going to have 1 reading today, which is how it's supposed to happen, and you allow debate in between. Oftentimes in bills, they have the first, second, and third reading in the one day, which they had supposed this would be. So credit to the government for listening to the operators, because they seem to have given it 1 reading to allow for their input, having seen the whole bill, and for them to maybe respond as a group. And even individually, some of them thought that their informed judgment to the consultant wasn't reflected in the act. For example, one of the things that we only do, and a feature of ours, is swimming with the whales. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of emphasis on the swimming with the whales. Now, for example, we have whale people who have been, one in particular has been doing this, who initiated it for over 20 years. And he initiated by befriending a certain whale because the whale was hurt and whatever. But anyway, and others have been doing this for over 10 years, and it's a big industry here. And it's one of the few places you can do it. In fact, the only place in the Caribbean you can do this. And they're allowing researchers to be involved to film, for example, the birthing of a calf, but they can't. In fact, they can't even be there at a birthing of a calf. If they approach a birthing, they can be fined $500,000 or 10 years in jail. Now, I think that's a little exorbitant. And given the fact that the very thing of social interaction with whales by the local operators, not the researchers, who come once a year. I know one that comes once a year for like 2 weeks, did a big piece, by the way, that made the front cover of the Times. Never mentioned his research was done in Dominica. Just mentioned that he did research on sperm whales. I saw this article. The picture was even from Dominica, and he didn't mention it. So there is issues around the international forces coming, and we as independent sovereign states, as well, however small we are, we have to assert our independence. And now we're not extricating the international community on any way. We're just encouraging our leaders that we are here too. And so in terms of that, that this is quite not, it also, as part of these fines, that they're creating in the act, which is something the operators also expressed to me that they were uncomfortable with, is that they are required under the act to inform on their fellow operators that may be involved in activity that's inconsistent with the act. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do in our social milieu. Now, I would presume that interaction between each other and yo, man, you shouldn't be doing that. But to be able to be what they call in the street snitching, which will end up the guy with an over $10,000 fine or more,
Yeah.
depending on the infraction,
Mm.
is a concern. And I hope that all of these will be addressed before the second reading, which as I said, I'm proud that the government in this occasion has listened to their constituents. And so this is a very important industry. I'd like your listeners to know, and it's unique to Dominica in the Caribbean. And so this is something that we should be very sensitive to, and we should see ourselves as leading the way and not to take it slightly. And
Yeah.
I think that the passing of it, because this is almost a national issue, because we are really singular. Like we're the nature island of the world. We have the largest boiling lake in the Western Hemisphere, Brazil.
Correct.
We have to take these things very seriously.
Yeah.
And as with the sperm whales, now a sanctuary say we fought for this over many years. Additionally, a point is made is that these operators are not allowed to go see whales outside the sanctuary. Now that's problematic. Whales are wild. They don't know where the boundary of the sanctuary is. You've taken people out to see whales. The sonogram tells you that they're outside the area. I mean, I can understand protecting it in there, but not allowing people or operators who are watching whales in the sanctuary to watch them outside the sanctuary seems to be an overreach to me. And so again, all these issues, I know they have been conveyed to me. So again, they'll have this opportunity to convey it with the government. And I trust the government will be the statesman that they should be. And they should use this opportunity to exemplify that quality that they have so often not done. And to show that they are listening to their people, who is both cultural, business, and environmental, which is really fantastic, because they want to protect the whales as much as anybody, because they're the ones, in fact, who benefit mostly from this. And I think that their interest is in that. What they feel that is being happening is that they are being put on the side in the face of international researchers who seem to have a lot more rights and power as opposed to them. It's like for an issue of habituation. Now, habituation has occurred in Dominica by whales coming up to boats, because they've been whale watching. People have been swimming with the same whales that other people are now watching. So this relationship between the operators and the whales is a very unique, dynamic, very singular to Dominica.
Let's throw in Henry, not to cut you off. Let's throw in another stakeholder, the fisher folk. The fisher folk. Yeah. The prime minister. Yeah, the prime minister said this is supposed to benefit the fisher folk. But if we're talking about the oversight mechanisms, which this legislation is supposed to dictate or state, we need to see what those statutes are, those mechanisms. We need to know what they are in order to come to a conclusion that's beneficial for the other stakeholders, like the fisher folks and the tour operators. How do you see this going?
Well, again, this is so because remember the whole shoreline. We have more land. We have more, if you will, sovereignty in terms of space over sea than over land, according to international law.
Yes.
Because we have 12 miles on each side, right? In terms of coastal water, and 200 miles, right? Going east because that's and west, not north and south, because it's the halfway line. In terms of our economic zone, that's why people say Bird Island is in our jurisdiction, because within our 200-mile economic zone. So I think this was a great opportunity, and still remains a great opportunity, to talk about the marine element of Dominica. I think Dominica is so blessed with land, rivers and forests and so on, that we forget how important our seas are. To fisher folks, divers, etc. So I really think this is a great opportunity, and hopefully they'll take it in the second reading and the third reading to allow this more dynamic interaction. Now, we still take whales as bots are whales, right? We take whales. What's the issue about that? Is it a sperm whale sanctuary? Are we going to prevent fishermen from taking bots? So I'm just really grateful that this wasn't rushed through and that they've allowed a reading. So they've put it on the table. Now people are aware of it. There's shows like this. I would hope that throughout the week that your station or yourself or others would make this an issue, even for me.
Stand to, because we need to look at this legislation. We're going to need to dissect this a little bit.
Yeah. But beyond the legislation, an opportunity to look at our marine environment generally. Like, why are we allowing things like, I see that there's a mechanic on the seaside of Citronelle. I mean, these are things that we have to, it allows us to let's look at our marine. Of course, the sanctuary and the whales will be dominant, but they operate within the wider context of the marine environment, which I believe needs addressing in Dominica in terms of appreciation. More people should know how to swim and all of those, even down to that element. And so I appreciate and I hope, and as the media, it's your responsibility now, given this gap, to drive this issue, if I may say so, in my humble position that I now am in.
Well, thank you so much. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I'm applauding you, but I'm encouraging you to, not just you, but even others. It should be others. I mean, and other stations, and
it's a national development. I mean,
yes, and I'm saying that it's also unique. We're the only ones that do it. Well, St. Lucia tried a little whale watching, but because of this body of sperm whales that we have, sometimes you see humpbacks here. I talk to my aunties and so on. As young girls, they would just see whales walking on the bayfront. Whales would be passing. So we have a history of this and a history of them in close collaboration. Now, whales are just like us, they have 5 fingers underneath the skeleton of their fins. They take 9 months to birth. Them and dolphins may be the closest mammals to us, and they're at sea. And outside of the primates. And so this is a very important issue for the world. And Dominica is another point where we can, as a tiny place, take leadership on a global issue. This appreciation, that's amazing. I see it, but Dominicans, they only see their smallness as insignificant. In other words, they're seeing their smallness as how significant they are, given the godly gifts they've been given in such a small place. It's like a human being. Like how it's such a small thing as a human being, given the world, has so much power, so much consciousness. And often, even individually, more often than not, we forget this. Let's not forget it nationally. So I push all the listeners and all of those that are within your show, and I again commend you, and I hope you continue, that and getting operators, etc., to express themselves. I even think and I will encourage them, why don't you all host the operators some sort of consultation in this interim going through the week. But clearly there are issues for the operators that have been addressed to me. And in that time, I myself will expose myself to the act. I tell you, I was informed about this by a phone call on Saturday evening, that this was occurring. And then I got to talk to 1 or 2 other people as a result. But again, it just needs more promote. And if it's correct, then there's no reason why it won't be embraced. And so I give thanks, and I hope the media continues to drive it.
Henry, thank you so much. At this time, we can take.
By the way, they also have a tagging thing and a tagging of the whale situation, which we haven't done. But do you know that a whale's tail is a signature is a fingerprint. You can know, and they all dive, so you always see their tails. Most of the pictures of whales are their tails because they're diving. And a whale's tail is a fingerprint. We had this running for a number of years in the early 2000s, but the operators aren't as fastidious as they needed to be to continue to photograph every fin they say, every tail, so we can have a monitoring it. But tagging of the whales is also allowed in this, and it is pretty invasive to tag a whale. Yet they're saying they don't want invasion of the whale. So those are all things that we need to discourse.
Wow. Henry, thank you so much. We're going to shift gears a bit. I suspect we'll be talking again. But thank you. Thank you so much, brother.
Well, I'm not asked by the media. I used to be on the media quite a much. So thank you very much, Steve. I don't seem to be as popular anymore. Maybe my beard is too gray. They liked me when I was younger. But be that as it may, give thanks to you and this opportunity. And I trust that your listeners have taken to heart the endeavor and the exposure that you wanted to give to this issue. And yes, be well, my son.
Thank you. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure. And Dominica.
Yes. First nature island of the world, singular.
We are very close to
aspect.
Thank you, Henry.
Okay.
Dominica, we're very close to having our very own sperm whale reserve.
It should be called a sanctuary.
First in the region. It appears in this case we are leading. What does this mean for our marine tourism product? Well, I can tell you that sometime later this week we'll be exploring that, At this time, it appears we're going to be making a stop to some fantastic folks from the Dominica Cadet Corps. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this. We are in the Atlantic hurricane season. Stay tuned to radio and television stations for regular bulletins. Rely only on official bulletins. Do not check these over the telephone. A message from Q95 FM Radio.
Are you tired of having the same boring breakfast every morning? Well, Monflake Oats is the healthy and perfect solution just for you. Make your breakfast exciting by adding Monflakes to your pancakes, parfait, or even milkshake. Monflake can be found in different sizes and available in granola, such as Caribbean or Hawaiian. Stop worrying about what to prepare for your breakfast, dessert, snack, or even dinner. Monflake is the best addition to your meal. Grab yourself a bag today.
Locally distributed by Fine Foods Inc. and available island-wide.
There's Smooth. And then there's Guinness Smooth. It's a brand new cool. Incredibly smooth. Perfectly balanced. For a smooth and refreshing taste. How smooth? Well smooth. Guinness Smooth. For a smooth and refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth. Must be 18 years or older. Drink responsibly. Socialize responsibly.
Locally distributed by Belfast Estate Limited.
Trust that we care. The kind of loyalty you cannot find anywhere. National cooperative credit union, and you can health, responsibility, democracy, equality, solidarity. And with you, we hustle hard for our members. So become a member today at one of our local offices and help us make your dreams come true. 255-2126. NCCU, your community financial partner.
If you know your favorite store, dial it now. 612-1253. That's Mega Deals. You can rely on Mega for some real deals on name brand clothing and electronics. High quality, low price. We are a wholesale and retail store located in Calabishi, right on the main road. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram at Mega Deals Dominica. Like our page. Check out our stuff. Call us. Visit us. Would appreciate that. Come try it on. Love it. Buy it. At Mega Deals. Your one and only online and brick and mortar store. Mega Deals is also on wheels. We make it convenient for your shopping. We deliver straight to your door. Email us at info@megadealsda.com. Rely on Mega Deals for some real deals.
The United Nations has declared 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives. Cooperative Day, Saturday, July 5th. The Cooperative Movement presents the Cooperative Awards celebrations. Awards to deserving cooperative heroes, past and present, at the Intercontinental Hotel in Portsmouth. From 7 p.m., Cooperative Day, Saturday, July 5th. Invitations only. Cocktails, drama, music, entertainment. International singing star Michael Henderson. Joy, Calypso Monarch. Saxophonist Kimani Toussaint. Panman Pius John Baptist. The Cooperatives Awards Ceremony, Intercontinental Hotel, July 5th, 7 p.m. Celebrating volunteerism, keeping the spirit of Kudma forever strong.
My friends, we're back. And at this time, we're going to be speaking to two of our special guests. They're going to tell us all about the Caribbean Cadet Camp and Conference. This major event will be held soon. And you can see them. They're actually live with us today. Lieutenant Colonel Fitzroy Leon, Deputy Commander Adjutant, and Lieutenant Nazarene Gordon, Finance Officer, Head of PR and Communications. Lady and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Welcome to Talk on the Block.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
We're happy to have you. And so we're talking the Caribbean Cadet Camp and Conference. First of all, give us a little backdrop. What is this about?
Okay. This is about the Caribbean Cadetting Association, and we, the Dominica Cadet Corps, will be hosting the 38th Association of Caribbean Cadet Commandants Conference right here in Dominica. This event is held annually, and for the first time, Dominica is going to be hosting the Caribbean Cadet Camp. The camp commences on the 19th of July until the 2nd of August at the Pierre Child Secondary School in Grand Bay. And our conference commences on the 28th of July, to the 20th to the 31st of July, 2025.
Fantastic. So this is going to be held in Grand Bay. And big up to the Grand Bay people one time. That's a major event. You're making history there.
Very much so.
So to our lady here, Miss Lieutenant Nazarene Gordon, tell us about how negotiations went to actually have this happen. We're seeing that our friend there, Lieutenant Leon, is saying that this is the first time this is happening. And so what was negotiations like before this development?
So it's the first time for the camp. However, the conference was held in 2017, and the decision is made at Caribbean level. every time the commandants meet, they decide among themselves in rotation where the next conference will be held under the next camp. So Dominica now holds the chair of the Association of Caribbean Commandants in the person of our commandant, Colonel Joseph Raymond. So we are so happy to be hosting the commandants from the Caribbean and the cadets from the various Caribbean countries.
And you say that Dominica holds the chair for the Caribbean
Yes.
Commandant, I would
The
say,
Association of Caribbean Commandants.
Colonel Joseph Raymond. I think I know it. Officer Raymond.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great guy. I mean, his composure is so calm about everything. But thanks for coming in and telling us about this. As it relates to the public, is this only exclusive for the Cadet Corps to attend? What does public participation look like for this event?
Well, it's a cadet camp.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Cadet Corps is a paramilitary organization.
Mm.
And it's a camp promoting the works of the Cadet Corps throughout the Caribbean. Of course, we participate in military activity, the fieldcraft, the drill, the shooting, the fieldcraft, map and compass, and that sort of a thing.
Mm.
All right. So no, it's not open to members of the public.
Yeah, to my mind, not to cut you off, Colonel Leon, but to my mind, I was thinking something along the lines of an opening ceremony where, you know, everyone is, and then after that, it's closed off to
Well,
cadets.
we are going to be having the opening ceremony on the afternoon of the 19th of July.
Of July. Oh, okay.
Right? And
Okay.
of course, persons are free to attend the opening ceremony.
Okay.
Of course, there'll be invited guests and that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But members of the public that want to take the drive to Granby, it will be a grand fanfare. 15 Caribbean countries.
I think it's nice. It's nice to see.
15 Caribbean countries
Yeah.
will be represented on camp.
Yeah.
We'll have a total of about 350 cadets and officers in Granby from the 19th. But we have persons coming in as early as the 17th.
Wow.
Right? And then we have record numbers for the conference, which is supposed to be held at Fort Young from the 28th, the morning of the 28th. And we have 32 participants. That comprises of the commandants, the staff officers, the adjutants, the training officers. So, like I said, we have 15 Caribbean countries from Jamaica in the north all the way down to Guyana in the south, and Bahamas in the west, Barbados in the east. We have a wide cross section of countries that are going to be here. We are planning at this point to have a sort of a route match through the streets of Rosewood. That has not been confirmed. We need to get permission from the police, although they're working with us on that sort of a thing. But it's a plan for one of the days of camp that will bring everybody into Rosewood and have a route match through the streets of Rosewood.
But speaking of
Yeah.
public participation, it is an opportune time for young men and women who are not part of the Cadet Corps to see the coming together of cadets from the Caribbean
I was
and
just about to get into that.
and be willing, because it is
Yeah.
pioneered through the
Yeah.
secondary schools. Also, it's an opportunity for all sectors to come on board. But
Mm.
because can you imagine 350 plus visitors?
It's a lot.
It's a tourism product.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for all sectors. As I said, we'll be feeding 300 plus people on camp. So the agriculture sector, our counterparts from the region are already voicing their interest in visiting our rivers or
Mhm.
sites and that sort of thing. So though they may not participate directly at camp, because we'd have the contingent from Dominica and the other Caribbean countries, but it's an opportunity for many, many Dominicans to get involved.
I think so too. Talk to us. I'm see that time is against us here, but talk to us as it relates to the Dominica Cadet Corps. I just want to know, how do things look currently in terms of participation? New cadets enrolling into the Corps. As we know, the Cadet Corps, it doesn't just teach self-defense and things of that nature. but it teaches a high level of morality, a high level of justice. You get that at a young age. That's instilled into the training. A lot of people would say, Lieutenant Leon, we need more of that. We need young women and men with those principles. Here is an organization providing that. What message do you give to parents at this time?
Surprisingly, you would see that we have been using this whole event, the Caribbean Cadet Camp and Commandants Conference, as a promotional tool. We are currently recruiting officers into the system, and that's our first step. That we recruit those officers because we need officers to have the supervision of the kids.
Yeah.
And come September, at the opening of school, then we go on an all-out drive to recruit as many recruits as possible into the system. Our act, the act of 2001, it does give us the right to have a cadet unit at every single secondary school in Dominica. Right? Of course, we financed partially by the government in terms of our yearly subvention and that sort of a thing. I mean, it could be better because everything has gotten so much more expensive. There were uniforms and equipment for use and that sort of a thing. But we are hoping with the we've just reinstalled the Central Committee of the Dominica Cadet Corps. With all of that being in place now, that we're hoping that our government subvention can increase, that we can bring in as many cadets as possible. We're looking to have our goal for by the end of 2026. When you say end of school year 2026, to have about 1,000 cadets.
Nice.
And that notwithstanding, there is recruitment going on throughout the year. So if someone is interested, we do not wait until there's a specific recruitment drive, but they have the opportunity through their schools or through headquarters, the Cadet Corps. Any officer express their interest. There's of course a process, but it's ongoing.
Okay.
And you also spoke of the discipline aspect. I would just also like to mention some of the activities the cadets while here will be getting into. For instance, we have a culture night. A cultural night, self-defense, water sports, rifle and sword drill, map reading, fieldcraft, hiking, shooting.
All of a sudden, I want to come. How do I become a cadet? Yeah.
And of course, there's fun, movie night and recreation, sightseeing. So it's paramilitary, it's discipline, but it's also fun and really molding the young people for better adults, to be better adults.
This is good.
And just to add to what she's saying, apart from all the fun, there's the competition side of the camp, where we're going to have the shooting competition among all 15 countries. We're going to have a drill competition. We're going to have a drill display competition, being a precision drill display by each of the countries. And we're also going to have an orienteering exercise. And with all of those competitions, of course, you have the preamble to all of that. For example, the shooting competition, they would have to look at skill at arms, the subject of skill at arms as to the type of weapon we're going to be using for the shooting and that sort of a thing. So as much as it's going to be a cultural and fun camp, there's the competition side of it that is also very interesting.
Fantastic. Definitely your closing remarks. I'm so happy to have you guys here, and I didn't know that so much was going on in the Dominica Cadet Corps, and now we're hosting the Caribbean Cadet Camp and Conference in July. Great news. Your closing comments. Let's begin with the lovely lady.
I hope that means next time you'll extend the time allotted to the DCC.
We can have a discussion with management.
Yeah, my closing comments would be that having listened to us and knowing what the DCC is all about, we hope that we'll get the support of the public. And by the way, let me mention, we are even despite or in addition to the subvention we get from government, we do make efforts to raise our own funds. So there's barbecue night, barbecue sale every Friday outside police headquarters. It's to raise funds to support the young people. And given the mandate of the Dominica Cadet Corps to help shape our future leaders, because whatever happens in society affects all of us.
Correct.
We do hope that we'll get the
Correct.
support of the general public to host the camp and other activities so that we'll have a better society, better families, better young people, young men and women through the efforts of the DCC.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Gordon. Let's go to Lieutenant Leon.
Well, I just want to
Leon.
echo the sentiments of Lieutenant Gordon, and want to add that those events are costing the Dominica Cadet Corps a significant amount.
Yeah.
Yes, we're being assisted by the government, but we've written to a number of business houses for some sort of support of kind, either in kind or cash. And we're looking forward to the support of all of those persons now that we are here on the final days, another 3 weeks before camp. We're asking all the persons that we've written to and persons that are just hearing about the two events that we can be supported as much as possible. We have, like we said, we're expecting some 350 cadets and officers from islands as far north as Jamaica to Guyana in the south. 15 of those countries are coming together with us, and we have to feed 350 plus people on camp for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, transportation and that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to make a general plea to corporate Dominica to assist us as much as possible in making those two events a success, and that for the young men and women to have as much fun as possible for 2 weeks in Dominica.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Nazarene Gordon and Lieutenant Colonel Fitzroy Leon, we definitely want to say thank you for coming in and, giving us some insight into this event, and to all the members of Corporate Dominica listening. Of course, the Cadet Corps is still asking for some sponsorship as it relates to hosting these two major events, the Caribbean Cadet Camp and the conference. 350 people in Dominica for these events. So a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of persons to transport. So if you can help. Lieutenant Gordon and Lieutenant Leon, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you very much.
Wish you a blessed day.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, some lovely folks from the Dominica Cadet Corps. Again, Dominica, as usual with me, things get busy, very informative and very engaging very quickly. Thank God for the opportunity to host these programs and to engage you. I consider that a blessing. All right, so we are shifting gears again, and we're going to be speaking about a very important development. Many persons were very afraid. I got a lot of messages from some of our friends living in the United States concerning this scare, so to speak, from U.S. authorities about a potential U.S. visa ban. As you can imagine, there's so many Dominicans with a U.S. visa conducting business and otherwise legal activities in the United States. So you can imagine the concern. Yesterday, the Honorable Prime Minister made clear his government's position as it relates to Dominica being potentially banned from accessing or getting visas. This is what our Prime Minister said. He is urging Dominicans to refrain from panic and reveals that at present there is no official U.S. visa ban on Dominica's citizens. He was speaking to the media at a press briefing held at the Financial Center Conference Room on Monday. The Prime Minister Skerrit says his government continues diplomatic engagement to clarify these concerns. He's assuring us Dominicans that Dominica stands ready to address any issues in a transparent and cooperative manner. The Prime Minister then went on to state that the government remains confident in the strength of its systems, in the integrity of the CBI program, and in the strong ties built with the United States. Just for context, I'd like to go a little further and play the excerpt of the Prime Minister before we bring in our next guest on this program. Let's take a listen.
The news of the U.S. visa ban, I want to say to us in Dominica that there is really no need or cause for panic. Though we have not received any official communication on this matter, we have been proactive in engaging to ascertain the facts and the actions which may be necessary. I assure the people of Dominica that we take the matter seriously, and the government is addressing this through appropriate diplomatic channels. So Dominicans who are in possession of a U.S. visa and have legitimate reasons to travel to the United States can do so, whether on business, study, or vacation. We are committed to protecting our national interests, the integrity of our international partnerships, and most importantly, the rights and freedoms of the Dominican people. We are prepared to address the concerns raised by our international partners through appropriate diplomatic and cooperative means. The government will keep the public informed as more information becomes available. We remain confident in our institutions, in the strength of our international relations, and in our collective ability to resolve any issues that may arise. From our engagement so far, we have been able to get some information on the concerns which the United States may have. One of them being illegal migration of Dominicans who are residing in the United States beyond the legal stay, people who have overstayed on their visas. The U.S. is raising that concern, and it's something that we need to address. And of course, our continued cooperation on those who have to be deported. Fortunately for Dominica, we have not had any numbers of deportees so far, but we will continue to cooperate with the United States on this matter. And of course, there are some aspects of our CBI program of which most of which have been addressed through the establishment of the independent regulatory authority among the member states who have CBI programs. And one of those concerns the United States has is the ability of applicants to change their names, either during the process or after the process. We met over the weekend as heads of government of these countries, and we've made it very clear that part of one of the provisions of the legislation in this new creation will be a complete ban on the ability of any applicant to change their names. So once you become a citizen under the program, you will not have the ability to change your names or continue to benefit from the citizenship of our countries. And there are some other administrative things, all of which we believe will be captured in the new legislation, which we will share with the public in the next few days. So there are not many things to be worried about or to be overly anxious about. I think we are mature leadership. We treat things with in a responsible manner, and we will continue to engage the United States in a very responsible manner, whatever concerns they have that they may have. We're not aware of anything that is beyond our ability to address, and we look forward to hearing from them officially, if at all. And once we do, then we will respond in like manner, and we will keep the Dominican public informed. But I'll say to you, there's no need to panic. There's a lot of things being said on social media, and so I would suggest to us that on this matter, wait to hear from the government on its engagement with the US on this issue. We'll be transparent with you. We'll be open with you on this matter. Whatever information we have, we'll share with you. Whatever actions we're taking, we'll also share with you to let you know going forward. The United States is an important partner for many reasons, on cultural, economic, political, on many fronts, and it's a relationship that we are very, very grateful for, and we'll continue to work on this matter. There's a correspondence to the Ministry of National Security. And they have asked us to share that information with our citizens in respect to travel to the United States. If you travel to the United States and they give you 6 months, do not let 6 months on the day take you to the United States. You can leave before the 6 months over, but do not overstay on your visa. And they're also saying to us to inform our citizens who are in the United States that if you are in the United States and you are not legal, that is to say that you have gone beyond your stay, or you got to the United States through non-legal means, then you should avail yourself to the authorities, and they will facilitate your repatriation to Dominica and so forth. They'll pay away, they'll give you some money to come home, whatever it is. So that's one of the issues that they're raising. Of course, that's something that I don't have much control over. I think it's matter for us to understand those who are involved in that they need to deal with this matter. But what I want to say to us in Dominica, that on this issue, there's no need to be anxious. Reading on social media and all these things and so on, and the sensation that's going to be, and all of this speculation. I'm not involved in any speculation. Something is seen or read, we ask them directly people who may have information, and that's why we engage in the United States. And I have assigned a lot of my time on this issue, and I'm personally, as Prime Minister, leading the government's response.
All right. So that was Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, giving his remarks on the concern of a possible U.S. visa ban for Dominica. On the line with me is former general manager of NBD and Aid Bank and past president of the Alternative People's Party. He's also a business leading consultant. Julius J. Corbett. It's been a while. But Mr. Corbett, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Richie.
And it's a pleasure to have you here on Q95 FM.
It's always a pleasure. Well, first of all, let me say the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and communion with the Holy Spirit be with you and all of Dominica.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me here, Ricky. The issue pertaining to the CBI program and passport is an issue Dominicans should hold very, very seriously. Very seriously. I heard from the Prime Minister. I listened to this, and he gave he glossed over the magnitude of the problem that can exist.
So while you heard the statement from the Prime Minister, while there's no official ban on Dominicans getting their U.S. visas for now,
that's true.
Considering our government's management of the CBI program and leanings with countries like China, which are normally labeled as anti-democratic, do you think all will be well within the next 50 days or so?
No, it's not going to be well. It's not. Here, let's take a step back for some. The issue about Dominicans, people living overseas, have visas, going to illegal. This is minor comparing to the broader picture. The issue right now is that Dominica and some of the small islands are right now selling passports to rogue nations. These rogue nations obtain passports and they obtain visas under this program. Now, the United States has been very concerned about the type of people who are entering the United States with posing as Dominicans. That is an issue for the United States government, a big one too. Now, assuming that Dominica is there is no longer an appetite for Dominican's citizenship by investment. In other words, there's no need to hold a Dominican passport if you can't really use it. The question was now, what is going to be happening to the CBI program? What is going to happen? If these investors, so-called investors, are unable to use the passport for the purpose intended, then the CBI dies. And that is a major problem, especially in Dominica's case, where the majority of the country's income is derived from the sale of passports. And from so far as I am aware, and I know that we have not used our CBI monies to diversify the economy. We have placed a lot of reliance on CBI. That is my big issue right now. It's not that Dominicans holding visas and can't enter. No, let me say this again. Historically, the United States have been issuing passports quite liberally, B1, B2 visas. You got a 10-year visa in your passport with multiple entries. That is not going to be happening. I just spoke to an immigration lawyer yesterday, and he says those things are going to be repaired. They're going to recall it. They are not going to allow that. You come in for a specific purpose. When that purpose has been satisfied, you have to leave.
Wow.
And if you are holding a 5 or 10-year visa in your passport right now, you might be asked, well, why have you been using, how you haven't used that passport for? Then they will. I am not trying to be truth. I speak to the truth. And I'm saying to you, those are the very likelihood. So when the PM, I understand the Prime Minister must allay fears. That is his responsibility, to allay fears. But he must go a little deeper into it. CBI is not a private club for any or so few governments. It is a methodology being used right now. It replaced the foreign direct investment, except that these folks have We are selling our passport to rogues and vagabonds. They use those and get these and enter the United States and create problems. That is the United States problem right now. And that is what the Prime Minister and Vince, the Foreign Affairs Minister, should be telling the people, not trying to put laws, what do you call it, independent regulatory authorities to the what? Can these authorities tell the United States how to operate? They can't. So what we should be doing right now is one of the things is that because our country, people will start getting deported. And so what has the government put in place? What systems are there in place? What social safety nets are in place to welcome back home our prodigal sons and daughters who fled the country to greener pastures, and now the pasture no longer, they must come back. How are they going to be re-assimilated into the Dominican society? What are we providing for them? Because it will happen. I'm looking at in particular the St. Thomas and St. Croix, where a number of Dominicans are residing here. A number. They can in the latter state on mainland US they can hide, but in this one they cannot hide. Very shortly, ICE will be knocking on their doors, and they will have to be repatriated back. What is it that we have in place for them? I understand in St. Lucia something is being done. I heard the Prime Minister say we're putting systems in place to welcome back home our citizens.
Deportees, yeah.
I didn't hear that coming out of the Prime Minister. What I'm hearing from the Prime Minister is that
he's saying that at current there are no deportees.
He said no. He said no. Let not your hearts be burdened. Tonight in St. Thomas, tonight in St. Croix, ICE can go and knock on anyone's door and put them on the flight back to Dominica tomorrow. Would they give him foreknowledge? Is he waiting for them to give him a list of Dominicans who are being deported? The Prince cannot be serious. He cannot be serious. It's unreal. ICE is going everywhere. They go to Home Depot, they go to restaurants. They don't give these countries any advanced knowledge that we are going to send active people to you. They are not going to do that. Is Rubio going to call, what's his name, Vince Henderson, and say, hey, Vince, it's Vince here. I have a group of 100 Dominicans we're going to deport. These are the names. Is he going to do that? Let's be realistic. Stop leading the people, misdirecting the people. Let them know the truth and decide, and they will decide how they're going to manage that. They are not going to give them a list of deportees or potential deportees. Guess what? Guess what's the latest, Rich? There are people appearing in courts to get their situation rectified. ICE just grabs them right in the courthouse.
Yeah.
They grab them.
Nowhere is
so how can the Prime Minister say we haven't got a list? And he says here we're being transparent. Let me ask a question. I would ask Prime Minister Scary to tell me, look down deep within your heart, deep within your soul, sir, and have been historically been transparent with the people of Dominica, sir? Have you? Have you been open as you claim? Let's be real. See what happens to the CBI monies. There is an SRO SRO that gives you authority to just move funds from the consolidated funds, have it elsewhere on the management of we don't know. Is that transparency? So people cannot believe this man when he says he's been transparent. He is worried right now because this is going to be serious.
One of the concerns of the U.S., Mr. Corbett, and you alluded to it to some extent, but one of their concerns is in relation to Dominican CBI citizens.
Okay.
Well, they go through the application, they get citizenship, and when they get it, they change their name, albeit they're changing their identity. And one asks the question, why? I recall as a reporter doing some investigation as it relates to the CBI and the good, the bad. And this was actually brought up by two opposition parties at the time, DFP and the UWP, each one of their members brought up the concerns of that happening. Years later, we're hearing from the Prime Minister, this is actually confirmed. He's actually saying, because the only reason he would say or put a measure, right, in law to stop that is because it's happening. And so we have to understand the context. So this has been happening. People getting our citizenship and then basically changing their identities. And that begs the question, why? Why would I do that?
Because
what begs you to change your identity?
Yep. Because, sorry about it, because they use all types of camouflage to get this document. They're not real. The identity initially was not correct. And if the government had the due diligence or the enhanced due diligence, they would pick that up. So you have a passport with someone with a strange name. That name might be a name from Iran, or they say, well, I don't want that name. I want to get a name that looks more British, very American, very Dominican, very West Indian. They hide him themselves. This is the issue. We're no longer Mohammed Arafat. We are now Peter Thomas.
Peter Smith. Peter Thomas.
We are Peter Smith. We are no longer Abdullah Aful-Hassan. We are now Christopher Matthew. We are no longer Helena de Mafactory. No, we know. So we know they know how to manipulate the system, and we have fallen into that trap.
Yeah. That has been a concern brought up by the authorities of the U.S. And our response to that, according to the Honorable Prime Minister, is legislation coming very soon, well, actually being passed to stop that, where he says CBI passport holders will have revoked their citizenship if they change their names after meeting the requirements of the government of Dominica in accordance with the country's laws for citizenship. So that will be completely revoked, their passport banned entirely. But this was not there before, so it's very important to keep that context. Now, a broader issue, Mr. Corbett, from all what you've said so far, it points toward the management of Dominica's CBI program. Okay. Dominica, and this is a fact, this is not hearsay, Dominica has had some shortcomings from criminals who have been investigated by international law enforcement for criminal activity using a Dominica passport. Now, here are some, I was able to do some research. So here are some notable instances of individuals, both criminals and those with questionable backgrounds that we know of, who obtained or used Dominica passports either through the CBI or diplomatic passport routes, and were later arrested or implicated in some kind of wrongdoing. So here they are. Number one, Asadullah Khalid. This guy is an Afghan ex-spy master and defense minister. Okay. It is alleged he has overseen cases of torture, arbitrary detention, sexual violence during his time as a provincial Afghan governor. It is also alleged he acquired Dominican citizenship in 2017. Despite these serious allegations, he got it. 2. Saddam Hussein's father of the Iraqi nuclear program and Libyan colonel under Gaddafi both reportedly obtained a Dominican passport in 2014 and 2015, respectively, enabling travel and possible evasion from international authorities.
Okay.
3. Mutasem and Fayez Faori, Jordanian businessman and his father, naturalized in 2010 via the CBI, arrested in 2012 for defrauding investors of tens of millions of dollars. Mutasem remains at large, listing Dominican nationality. 4. Pedro Fort Burbel, a Spanish national, acquired Dominican citizenship in 2015. In 2017, he was charged by the U.S. Secretary of State for running a Ponzi multi-level marketing scheme involving millions of dollars.
Yep.
5. Gusamaji Singh, a United Kingdom donor under investigation in India. He bought a Dominican passport in March of 2013 under a fraud investigation in India. A lookout circular was issued by Indian police for Mr. Singh. This is also verified by the organization Crime and Corruption Reporting Project team, as well as the Caribbean Corruption Organization. 6. Nearly a dozen fugitives investigators identified around 12 to 30 CBI passport holders who were fugitives, either absconding before facing criminal charges or escaping prosecution altogether. So Francesco Corallo, you've heard this before. You've heard this name. You heard this name before. He was listed on Interpol's most wanted list. Detained in Italy, Corbett, with a Dominican diplomatic passport. This is further this news is further corroborated by CBS News, the Caribbean Corruption Organization, and The Guardian. Alison Madueke, former Nigerian oil minister, arrested for bribery and money laundering in the United Kingdom, held a Dominica diplomatic passport. This is no joke. Rudolph King, a Bahamian fugitive from U.S. justice, served as Dominican ambassador for Bahrain before being exposed, again confirmed by CBS News and the Bahamas press and authorities. Another name you may know, Ali Reza Monferret.
Oh, yes.
Iranian national convicted of embezzling some $2 billion from Iranian oil sales. He held a Dominican diplomatic passport. Enchi Lapseng, one of our closest friends in our country, a Chinese billionaire convicted in the United States in 2016 for bribing UN officials. He held as well a Dominican diplomatic passport. Mr. Corbett, does the United States have the right to be concerned?
Let me take a step back. What is common with that list that you've just read? You know what is common? They are holders of Dominican passport and citizens. That's common.
Yeah.
The other thing that's common is that they are all criminals. Criminals. I do not recall knowing any Dominican who was born in Dominica, living in the United States, or have made any such, have some crimes alluded to their names as these people who buy our passports do all can. So obviously the United States is now decide that we gotta move. This is too much, especially with what's going on between Iran and Israel right now, all this war happening right now. So the government, the United States does have a legitimate reason to act. Historically, they have been very liberal, but I think it's Donald Trump here, who is preaching nationalism. They're after everybody. So I do not understand the issue behind this legal independent framework authority that they are establishing. For whose purpose? For whose purpose? The United States government is going to use that? I don't understand the purpose behind that. I was not on the meeting. I'm not a fly in the wall, but I would like to know this independent regulatory authority paper that's being prepared that is going to be handed to Dominicans is going to serve what purpose? Because the country had all the time in the world to do its due diligence. Not only due diligence, but enhanced due diligence. So you know everything. The bank has a thing, know your customer, KYC, know your client.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that we, knowing our client to be criminals, we went and we still issue them with a passport or birthright that gives them the authority to go there and cause mischief? So who's leading? Who in the country is behind that? Who in Dominica is supposed to be responsible for Dominica's national security? Who? You should be involved with that. How many? These are the issues that's facing this country. And therefore, the United States has now raised a red flag. And the red flag is that a number of Dominicans will now start to suffer. So as I said before, what are the social safety that we have in place to welcome home our prodigal sons and daughters who left our shores in search of greener pastures? They're coming back home. How are they going to get themselves reassimilated into our society? That is what I want the Prime Minister to talk about. And stop giving the impression, well, you don't worry about it. No, like Matthew says, you need Isaiah. Isaiah says, be not afraid, because I am with you. Is that what he's preaching? He must be honest and start putting systems in place, because it will happen. Within the next few months, Dominicans will be coming back home in drove. The United States is not going to send Mr. the PM and the rest a list of deportees. And he said, what he said, we'll pay your passage back, we'll put money in your hands, and we send you back home. You know what the United States is doing right now? They are taking people from the United States and sending them to El Salvador and all places that they've never been before. Is he aware of that? Can you imagine you, Richie, sitting in down and say, hey, guess what? I just heard they pick up a Dominican guy for extending his visa. And guess where he is right now? He's in the maximum prison in El Salvador, or he's on his way to Sudan. Because the Prime Minister didn't get a list. So the Prime Minister say, hey, President Trump, can you please let Vince, my ambassador, give him a list of who you're sending back so we can prepare for them. And how much money you're going to put in their pocket again? So tell us. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. Utter nonsense.
So so you're making a call for our government to be extremely proactive.
The government has to be proactive, and they must tell the people on a regular basis what's happening. For example, I understand just recently the foreign minister and the prime minister met with Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. Did he come back and tell the people what transpired at the meeting? You are I am your employee. I have a right to tell you what's happening. You pay my salary. You pay my per diem. We went to Marco Rubio. We had a meeting and we discussed X, Y, and Z. Let his PR people should be out there telling the country. That is what we've been. That's how proactive we can be. Now, when you talk about proactive, what are you going to do? Tell them don't deport them? Ask them to pass laws and regulations to benefit our people? Give us some special treatment. Give us a special treatment when you are selling passport to vixen and vagabonds that is destroying my country. Now I must give your people special treatment? Come on, guys. Who's being serious here? We have to be honest with ourselves and our people. We have a program in place that is going to be there's going to be no appetite for Dominican citizenship and passport in the future. If that happens, there goes our economic demise, because we have not broadened our economy to accommodate any shortfall.
It's funny that you should make that statement. I mean, I spoke to two economists earlier on, and as well as last week, if you recall, I spoke to Dr. Thompson Fontaine, who is an economist. He's also the UWP leader. He shared those sentiments, revealing statistics to the tune of 60% making up Dominica's GDP. At 40% from recurring revenue. I mean, that's frightening.
But Richie,
if we lose Corbett, the CBI revenues in a short term, we are left in the wind.
Richie, it is something that is very logical in your thinking. Any Dominican who really studies the country and the way it is moving, and say, Mon Dieu, Saint-Marie, Joseph, if they take CBI from us, what are we going to do now? Dominica fini bat. We understand that. Because I see no Trinidad, Sanu Calife. What are we going to do? What is the alternative? The industry has died. Bananas has died. Non-banana agriculture is not growing. I am living here in Florida and I'm seeing so many fruits and vegetables coming from all little countries and doing nothing.
Yeah, to their defense, before you continue, I should let you know that some tons, 40,000 tons of plantains was exported after a long time,
To where?
a few days ago,
To
to
where?
the US market. So
Via
I guess
who?
some effort
Via
via Dexia. The only farmers who were paid 30 of them, I think, within 48 hours.
Well, that's good news. That should be
Yeah.
happening all the time. That's good news. Guess what happened? What's the name? This airline been flying in Dominica. I mean, we should have a big market. Dexter should be up there promoting Dominica. Dash in. I just bought a pack of seasoning pepper from Guatemala. Cost me $10.99. Yeah. Tasting like ours, but it's still not ours. So back on where we are right now, and this issue about visas. The issue about visas is big when it comes to the CBI investments. I understand they are saying they're treating CBI as a club. It's not a club. It's not a club, guys. It is an organization. It's something that's happening for the good of the people. We, the people, need to know more about what is happening to our CBI monies. Richie, do you know that there is an SRO that gives the government the authority to bypass the consolidated funds, establish a fund, and from these funds, it does not come under the regulation of Parliament. So we'll say it's not our money. It was originally ours, but no, it's no longer ours because we have a sister. Now, I want the Prime Minister to go to Parliament and ask them to repeal this act, so bring back the money back into the consolidated fund so we have control over it, transparency.
That has been a concern expressed by a wide range of Dominican professionals.
So why can't the Prime Minister take a bill and go back to Parliament and say, guys, this thing we did how many years ago? SRO is giving us authority to just move money, and we'll have to repeal that and start bringing all the money back. So we have transparency. He said a while ago that it will be transparent and open. That is why I'm asking him, deep down within his heart and his soul, to what extent has he been transparent? To what extent has he been open with the country? Has he? Seriously. So what we need in Dominica is some serious politicians. I'm not a politician, I'm just serious who go out there and say this. We need to know. We have a right to know. I just bought 2 pounds of soursop. If I'm in match with you, $10.99 a pound. Soursop. A huge medicinal benefit. Can anybody grow better soursop than us in Dominica? You crazy? With our soil? So rather than out there building houses for people and whatnot, help them. And there's a saying that you teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself alive. Or give him a fish, he get hungry tomorrow. Do the things that can help the country.
By point of correction, I should just correct myself. It's 40,000 pounds, not tons. Sorry, 40,000 tons would be. We would welcome that, I think. But it's pounds. Sorry, pounds.
But my friend, you're getting me excited right now because it is something to be excited about. It is something to be concerned about. When you listen to me. This country, this lovely country we call Dominica, has never been so liquid with cash. Never in its history. But we could do so much with less money. We have all this money flowing into the country, and we are not maximizing the sources of funds, guys. That has to stop. PM, I need you to take the leadership role and return to Parliament and repeal this SRO 7 that allows you to create a fund that is more away from the consolidated funds, which you and only a few people know all about. There's no transparency, Prime Minister Skerrit, with respect to the CBI money that is out there residing offshore with no local jurisdiction from Parliament. This is nonsense. Why is it that it takes a situation like now, a visa passport issue, is now shedding to light all the things that we ought to be doing as a people? So very shortly, you will be seeing Dominicans arriving home. And we ought to start putting systems in place to accommodate and to celebrate the re-entry into our society of our brothers and sisters who left our shores to go overseas for greener pastures, but things didn't work out. Life does not only work the way you want it. This IRA thing is absolutely okay, my brother. That's
all right. So thank you so much, Mr. Corbett. Let's take a few calls.
That's my piece.
Dominica, you've heard the Honorable Prime Minister. You've heard Mr. Julius J. Corbett. Your views on this very important matter. Caller, you're live.
I wanted to call this one and say something, You know how I see us in Dominica? We like sheep that is scattered without a shepherd. And we are at the end of a precipice, ready to fall. But I always say to myself, as a Christian person, I'm looking at man, I'm looking at God. He's a good shepherd. And he will send someone to deliver one of these days. There are so many stories upon stories, and and what is wrong, people say it's right. But I want to tell people in Dominica, you don't have to, the arm of flesh will fail us. We ought to lift our head and look unto God and call upon God. Because there are people that, they are aware of the truth, but they pretend like they don't know the truth. And we are at the edge of a precipice. It only takes God to deliver us. I have grandchildren coming in. My children are not that old to see. But I tell you, when man started to, because the Bible tells you false prophets will come in, people will come in false kind of story, and then you may believe. You only need to read it. That is why I tell people every morning, you read the word of God. Anytime you get me, read the word of God. So that you have to hear what God says, not what man says. You understand? But what man says, Jesus say, well, yes, sugar coming in. Everybody run for business and sugar never coming. But I want to say we are like sheep are going astray. It only take the good shepherd to deliver us. Thank you very much.
Richard.
The caller says we are like sheep that's going astray.
Richard, can I comment? Can I comment on that, Richie?
You can. Let's take another call after.
And I agree with the sister who just called. Jesus is the good shepherd. Jesus will lead us to the path of righteousness. Jesus is the answer to what's happening in our country right now, today. The country needs to return to prayer. I agree with this.
Thank you, Mr. Comet. Let's take this call. Caller, you're live.
My beloved brother, blessings to you.
Blessings. How are you, bro?
Oh, my.
I give him thanks. Blessings to you, sir. For my namesake, Julius Cobbett. I'm Julius Tyrone Anthony and Richie. You may not know that, but that's my name. So that's my friend there, Mr. Cobbett.
I'm on a fortitude.
Richie, something I am hearing it, and we are not. Richie, if I'm being issued a passport to gain citizenship of a country, can I go elsewhere and change my name on the passport?
No, you can't. No, you can't.
You following me now, Richie?
Yes, I'm following you, yes.
Can I go elsewhere and change my name on the passport?
No.
That's it. So who that is getting paid to issue passports with fake names, not of the buyer. They say they're not selling passports, so Richie, maybe I should use a new term, Richie, of the. Let you slime out. You see, that's and Skerritt is coming then. That's Skerritt's problem. He suffers from a superiority complex. He thinks he's the greatest liar who ever lived.
Let's refrain from using that adjective.
Liar?
Yeah, let's not go there. But
I'm talking about. Should I not say the Prime Minister is a liar?
It's kind of borderline in, what our well-known friend would call an improper motive. So let's.
Okay, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I take that back.
Yeah.
He is a stranger to the truth.
Thank you for that.
Richie, the problem is, Richie.
Yes, my friend.
Skerritt is coming there telling us about do not overstay our visas. When we go to America, if they give us a 6 months, not to make it 6 months and a day.
Mm.
Oh, we are the cause of all these sanctions and the threat of not issuing visas. We are the ones. Proper diversion. Perfect diversion. Focus on the citizens of the country who is causing the U.S. to have us under scrutiny, and sanctioning us is not the passport they're selling to these foreigners and changing their names on the passport. According, I hear Mr. Julius Corbett give some names there. I need to call you for to give me a name because I need to change my name. I have to be Abdullah, Maluba, something. So I'll ask you because I hear you say But actually, do not be fooled. We have not an official of the immigration there to speak. We did not have the Minister of National Insecurity there. The Prime Minister is judge, jury, and executioner. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Blessings. Thank you.
Yeah, this is funny.
We appreciate your comments. Mr. Corbett.
Well, he's right. He's right. But can you imagine a Palestinian guy, Palestinian surname with a Dominican? Say, you've been in Dominica? How long you been there? I've never been there. Are you sure? I've never been there. I put $200,000 in investment, and I got a passport. And that made me a citizen. I've never visited there. Have you ever voted there? No, I haven't voted there. So what rights do you have? The right to hold a passport to commit crime. That's what I have. The right to hold a passport so that I can commit crime against the United States government or other country.
Wow. Let's take another call. Caller, you're live.
Good afternoon, Mr. Farrell.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon to Mr. Corbett. Good afternoon.
Greetings, my brother. Greetings.
Yes. Mr. Farrell, I heard you saying to all that we heard the Prime Minister. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I called and I said, I don't listen to the Prime Minister. You said we heard Mr. Corbett. But Mr. Farrell, we heard you too. We heard you give a list. Lord have mercy. Mr. Farrell, let me ask you, Richie, if I'm not pronouncing your name right.
Yeah.
Mr. Richie. Do we know if there are other names that have not shown up or announced or pronounced?
The names
Do we know if there are any?
The names I called are what we know.
Exactly. So that's why I said we heard you too. And you summarize them nice. You summarize all this helpful, but I listened to you summarizing them one after the other, articulating them one after the other.
Yeah.
But a question struck me, and I said, whether you or Mr. Corbett, I want to ask you all this question. Would it be wrong if I now have to assume, I don't have to assume, that there are other names out there we do not know about? Thank you.
Caller, thank you so much for your contribution. What I will say is and I've made this public on many different mediums, not just QFM. Then this is my view now. Personally, the CBI program, I think, is a wonderful vehicle for generating that type of foreign investment when done properly. Notice that my words are very specific. and so I have nothing against the program. But concerns rise as it relates to transparency, as it relates to, because it's obvious we had an issue with that. This is why now we're running to Parliament, and we're on a potential U.S. visa ban list from the United States officially. And all of this is happening in real time. All right. And so it begs the concern. Every single Dominican, young and old, has to get, according to my previous guest, the adjective he used is akua. You have to get accustomed to the knowledge of CBI, what it means, how it's being used in your country. Because albeit these are your funds, how are your funds being used to make your life better? And so, Mr. Corbett, your views on the last caller we had.
I think, Richie, I'm in agreement with you. I think the CBI program would be an excellent program if properly managed. Honestly, I mean, before we saw the FDI, the foreign direct investment, but now we got the CBI. But those things were being managed properly. For example, if you are the president of a corporation and you have assets, you want to make sure that these assets that you have, that you're managing, being the systems and procedures are in place to ensure that you know how many passports are being issued, to who, when, how the source of funds, what mechanisms being used, how the funds were used. You have to have a system in place. Lacking that, it means that it is a vehicle for corruption. It is not being used for the purpose of it. Some of it, you probably can see, I understand, you can see some houses are being built here. Yes, but the majority of the funds is residing where?
Yeah.
Where? Under whose supervision and jurisdiction? Who? There should be a committee within the government that receives the funds and make sure that you issue projects approved by the government. You have a committee. I don't know if those things happen, but I want to agree with you, Richie, that the CBI program, and your word, if well managed, should be something that Dominicans should be grabbing and be happy. But it has to be thoroughly managed. There must be the due diligence that is supposed to be done, or the heightened due diligence. I understand they're paying some guys was being paid to do due diligence on behalf of the country. We don't know the guy's background, who are these people. How authentic are these due diligence that's being conducted? That comes.
It begs the question.
It begs questions.
It begs the question, like, what was this person's qualification? Because we're seeing there's too much examples. But I understand how you feel, Mr. Corbett. There are too many examples.
This is disheartening. This is disheartening.
Confirmed. I want to make it very clear to the Dominican public. This is not hearsay. This is confirmed convicted criminals with our passports. So this is extremely serious. So it's no longer. I heard that the opposition said that, or I heard Julia said this. This happened. This happened. How do you respond to that?
But guess what? That is only those that that are being published. We don't know, as my buddy Blessing said, you don't know. You don't know who else have our passports causing all kind of crimes. But what you do know is that they do change their names. Because you don't want a guy, the Syrian guy with a Abdullah or something name with a Dominican passport, and he ask him for immigration. Say, well, how did you get you become a citizen? Were you living there? Did you marry a Dominican? What else? No, I paid $250,000. I've never been there. No. Gaston, ça qu'arrive nous Dominique, notre bon Dieu Saint-Marie Joseph. What is happening to our country? You know, hey Richie, I want to in my golden years. I want to be enjoying it, but I had a call from Divine Providence. It says to me, you gotta go back to Dominic and help your country, man, because go there and make some good noise. Unveil, remove the cloud of darkness that's covering our eyes, and stop hearing people say God is good all the time, and the only one who's receiving God's goodness, chosen few. For the common good. For the common good. We the people. We need to know. We need to know, have you done your due diligence, your enhanced due diligence? Who did it? What is the kind of qualification of the person who did it? How much did you pay them to do that? Was it legit? We have to do an audit of the entire policy, forms, and processes, my dear brother. If not, we'll just be marking time. We will receive all these types of responses from the United States government, the European Union, wherever. And you know who will be responsible for that? Our leaders, those people who are out there battling on our behalf. They are our employees. We hire them. They have an obligation to we, the people, not to themselves.
I think, Mr. Corbett, as you made that statement, I think some education needs to be done as it relates to politics. What is politics? The transfer of power from the population to any particular party to become the government, because a party only becomes the government after the citizens exercise their constitutional rights to vote. And then as far as the constitution is concerned, it is only at that time of the votes being tallied and they being sworn in that the power of the citizenry is literally transferred for a temporary amount of time to that selected chosen few, that particular organization or party, as it were. And so I think a discussion needs to be had on that. But let's take more calls. We are gearing up to top of the hour of 3. Let's take this call. Caller, you're live.
I listen to you guys, you and Mr. Corbett, and I think our only form of consolation is that I heard the Prime Minister say in House of Assembly that they'll go after the people who has caused the program to fail.
He did say that, yeah, he did.
Yeah, right. I recall. So I hope.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, the Prime Minister said in a very cool voice in House of Assembly that he's going to go after the people who has caused the program to fail. So I hope the people will be caught. And
you know who's that person he's going after?
Well,
no. Can I tell you? Can I tell you? Can I tell you who? Can I tell you? Can I tell you who? Can I tell you who he's going after? He's going after himself because he is the one who's responsible. He's the one responsible.
That's a tough one, Mr. Corbett. That's a tough one.
He's the one responsible for heading the program. He's under his government.
Well, he'll go after himself.
Exactly, you have to.
Okay, good guy, gentlemen.
Boy, you guys not easy, boy. Making Mr. Corbett laugh.
He's going after them. Don't you think he knows them? Don't you think he knows who? A public pronouncement is made for the purpose of what? Of humor? Is humor. If you are responsible for the program, Mr. Prime Minister, any issues, any weakness in the program, it is your responsibility. The buck stops at your desk, my dear sir. Do remember that. The buck stops at your desk. You have to ensure that there are policies and systems in place at the agency level, at the sales level, wherever the passports are being sold. There must be systems in place to account, record, and to report, Mr. Prime Minister. So don't be out there telling, oh, I'm going to be asking, I'm going to put them to jail. You see who's killing my program. They're not killing your program. You're killing the program. You are killing the program, PM. Bring your advice, bring your finance minister, everybody together and say, guys, we have issues. How are we going to do that? Give them a certain amount of list of items to do, things to do. So at any time he can pick up the phone where he is and call his U.S. embassy wherever he is and say, how many passports did you sell today and to who and where's the funds? Tell me more so I can tell the people, my people who I'm responsible for. They put me there. Are you there?
I'm with you. We're with you.
You understand that? So he cannot be out there trying to find who is causing, who's creating the reasons for the program. The program is failing because you have not implemented the appropriate systems to ensure that you're captivating all the issues, all the nuances associated with the program, Mr. Prime Minister. That is what you're supposed to be doing. And you're going to start, number one, from removing this SRO 47 that you have that allows you to move funds from the consolidated funds, have it somewhere in what a project fund, and you alone have jurisdiction over it. That is utter nonsense. How do you do that? How do you sleep at night when you know these things are not, what you're doing it's not right? It's not uplifting, pleasing, and holy to God. It's not. And country. So let's get back to where we were. Dominicans coming back home, they'll be deported. What have you put in place to accommodate them on their return? What are you putting in place? Are you going back to Parliament and say we need some money set aside, not realizing what they put in their pocket, they're coming home? What are we going to do? The healthcare system, are they good? They're being some good healthcare? Is the healthcare system available for them to be able to live longer? These are the issues, not being out there trying to create an independent regulatory authority for purpose and for whose benefit? The United States government? The United States government have you on your blacklist because you're selling passports to criminals, identifiable criminals there, sir. You understand that? Identifiable prisoners, criminals, demonstrable documentation presented on this air and elsewhere. Financial Action Task Force came out of it. So stop giving people the impression that it is people who don't like Dominica who doing that. It is not who don't like Dominica. The people they don't like Dominica. They love Dominica. What they do not like is the way our government is managing our affairs. We don't like it.
At this point, I'd like to say good afternoon to the
thank you
many listeners and
that's my piece. That's my word.
Many persons in the comment section of our live stream. Good afternoon to Crispin Shillingford, Tyson. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to Kels. Julianne. Good afternoon to you. Marlene Shillingford. Good afternoon, Marlene. Joycelyn, always a pleasure. Good afternoon to Q and to Peter Dover. Wishing you a pleasant afternoon. We are approaching just a few minutes to the end of the program. There's so many calls coming in, but I'm sorry. Very soon we will be cutting it short. I'm sure Mr. Corbett has some lunch to eat.
Well, I got God's work to go do.
What's that?
I have to go and do God's work.
Okay, there you go. Let's take this on the overseas line. Good afternoon. Caller, you're live. Okay, please try and call us back. Let's take this phone call. Caller, you're live. Please turn down the radio that you have and listen only to the phone. You're live.
Yeah, just quickly, Richie. You see Mr. Corbett blessings again. That's what he's doing. He distorts everything. He pull and twist things out of the original position. He behaves like a perfect pervert, turning a good into evil. So all of a sudden, he will be coming after those who. So all of a sudden, it's a transition where responsibility is concerned. Not me. It's Richie. Oh, Mr. Corbett that do that. They come in for you too, you know, Mr. Corbett. Maybe they don't know I live in Richie, so they can come for me. Have a blessed one.
Well, I don't think there's anyone to come for. These are the facts, huh? And while we support the program, it would not be logical to not assess where we've been to understand where we're going with the program. You understand? So at this time, Mr. Corbett, your closing remarks.
Well, Richie, thank you very much. Appreciate you having me. I am hoping that the few words I just conveyed to my fellow Dominicans, that they will think about it seriously and start holding their leaders, their feet to the fire. Let them be transparent and let them be honest with them. And do you expect the government to give you a list of deportees and how much money are going to put in their hands and what are you going to do for them when they arrive? That's it. Number two, what are you going to do when the CBI program ends? Because I spoke to two investors lately, and they says, Julius boy, when CBI finished, Dominica Finibat. That is what. Can you believe that? If CBI gone, Dominica Finibat, then you have a government in power for 20 years, or there has more money in its possession than anybody else, have not established any industry so we can have a fallback. None whatsoever. A few. We try to do things with bananas, but nothing grows. Everything. We got to do a stage right. Get back. So I'm hoping that the whatever decision that the Prime Minister, this paper is presented, the authority comes up with, is something to benefit the people as a whole, and not for a private CBI club, because CBI is not a private club. CBI is a mechanism, a system in which funds are coming in countries that they would not otherwise have received. And it ought to be fairly well managed. If it's not being managed, then. So I am hoping the Dominicans will consider a lot of what we discussed this afternoon. Think about it, those of them who heard, and go back and listen to the Prime Minister and ask the pertinent questions. What transparency, what you say you're being proactive, what are the proactive things you're doing, what are the results, when do you expect results, how are you going to manage? These are the issues. We need big pictures, not just as my friend Blessing you just don't gloss over serious matters. Thank you for listening, and I do appreciate you having me, Richie.
Mr. Corbett, I'm sure we'll be talking again at some point in the future. I wish you a blessed afternoon, and thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Julius J. Corbett. He is, in fact, former general manager of NBD and former general manager of 8 Bank, former president of the Alternative People's Party, currently a business leading consultant. Thank you. All right, so good afternoon to Lucille Edwards. Good afternoon to you. And to Hubert and Simeon. A pleasant afternoon. Errol, good afternoon to you. There's so many calls coming in now, but we've reached the end of the program. And I can tell you Thursday, I'll be back on Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Lennox Linton will be holding on format, handling both the Wednesday's edition of the Hot Seat and Talk on the Block. So you'll hear me and engage with me on Thursday. But stay tuned to the big station Q95 FM.
David, you sure this car will get us home?
Tonya, I know my God. Trust me. That can take us to town and back on an Ether. Wow, not now.
David, I told you to put in Rubis Ultratech fuel last week. That gas is longer lasting for sure. It improves fuel economy, saves you money, and maintains vehicle performance. What sort of car man you supposed to be?
What does Ultratech Fuel's greater fuel economy mean to you? You get more miles for less, but only the best in your tank. Ultratech, only from Rubis.
We are in the Atlantic hurricane season. Stay tuned to radio and television stations for regular bulletins. Rely only on official bulletins. Do not check these over the telephone. A message from Q95 FM Radio.
Are you tired of having the same boring breakfast every morning? Well, Monflake Oats is the healthy and perfect solution just for you. Make your breakfast exciting by adding Monflakes to your pancakes, parfait, or even milkshake. Monflake can be found in different sizes and available in granola, such as Caribbean or Hawaiian. Stop worrying about what to prepare for your breakfast, dessert, snack, or even dinner. Monflake is the best addition to your meal. Grab yourself a bag today.
Locally distributed by Fine Foods Inc. and available island-wide.
There's Smooth. And then there's Guinness Smooth. It's a brand new cool. Incredibly smooth. Perfectly balanced. For a smooth and refreshing taste. How smooth? Well smooth. Guinness Smooth. For a smooth and refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth. Must be 18 years or older. Drink responsibly. Socialize responsibly.
Locally distributed by Belfast Estate Limited.
We have that. You want quality services, we have that too. Our services will help make your dreams come true. That's the fact. Hurry up to NCCU, your community financial partner. Yes, to support you through all disaster. At NCCU, trust us, we care. The kind of loyalty you cannot find anywhere. National Cooperative Credit Union, education, training, and information. Self-help, responsibility, democracy, equality, solidarity. And with you, we have no heart for our members. So become a member today at one of our local offices to help us make your dreams come true. 255-2126. NCCU, your community financial partner.